This is Chaz Taylor, and you're listening to Interactive Wrestling Radio.
Interactive Wrestling Radio. Ho, ho, ho. Welcome to another edition of Interactive Wrestling Radio right here on WrestlingEpicenter.com. Merry Christmas, everyone. Starting to get into that spirit, getting a little bit of my Christmas story going. You know, I used to look like Ralphie. Anyway, my name is James Walsh. Joining us on the line shortly will be our guest of the week, our gift to you, the one and only Chaz Taylor, former teen heartthrob, American Chippendale, the Love Machine. Turn it up. Whatever you want to give the nickname of, Chaz Taylor will be joining us, and it's a great sit-down interview. It goes about an hour long. We discuss everything from his roots in wrestling, growing up with his father being the star that he was, as well as the crazy Bungee Chord Match he was involved with, the fantastic light heavyweight division in the GWF, his runs in the TWA, ECW, and Taylor's Pro Wrestling Factory in Houston, which he currently runs, and is probably amongst the elite places to go get trained. So if you haven't checked out the latter, Taylor's Pro Wrestling Academy, do Google it. I did last night. I looked at some pictures, looked at the alumni page. They have a Facebook page set up telling about what they do. So definitely, if you haven't already done so, check that out. Premier place to be trained in the art, and it is an art form of our business. Don't click off as soon as we finish up with Chaz, because Patrick Kelly joins us and we have a sit-down conversation that'll reflect what you have with your crazy uncle after Christmas dinner this coming Thursday. I'm sure you're going to enjoy that too. Very fun conversation about the art of pro wrestling and what's going on right now in our business. We even start talking about the interview, not this interview, but the movie, and so much more. So if you haven't checked out our post segments yet, you should stick around and listen to them. This is a particularly amusing one. We're both a little bit sick and in a foul mood, so it should be interesting. I'd like to thank Chaz for spending the time that he did with us. Fantastic interview. Thank you, sir. Long time in the making, and we hope everybody has a happy, safe, and Merry Christmas.
This is James Beard, and you're listening to the Interactive Interview.
Oh, he's making a mistake, Craig. He needs to stay right on Chaz. He seems like he's in disarray. He's shocked.
The Lightning Kid. The cloudburst.
That's it.
Rolls him
That's
over.
It.
1, 2, 3.
That's it, Craig.
Chaz is the new global light heavyweight champion.
Ladies and gentlemen, the winner of the match and new Global Wrestling Federation light heavyweight champion, Chaz.
Welcome back to Interactive Wrestling Radio right here on WrestlingEpicenter.com. On the Newsmaker line with us is the former teen heartthrob. I feel kind of funny calling you that now. But the Love Machine, Chaz Taylor. How you doing?
Oh, I am fantastic. How are you?
Doing great, man. Well, I got to tell
Awesome.
you, we've been wanting to have you on for a while. And I've been like messaging back and forth on Facebook, and I'm thinking, well, we should do it. But then I'm thinking, yeah, why not? But then they brought the GWF back on ESPN Classic, and I thought, you know what, let's do it. And let's cement it and let's make it happen. So here's my first question for you. How weird is it for you 20-plus years later to sit back and watch yourself as a very, very young man on a national TV show like that?
I wish I had the knowledge and wisdom now that I have had it back then. I wish I would have done a few things differently. You know, had I had the guidance and stuff over the years. You know, back then there weren't a lot of guys that wanted to help you, which now there's more people that are willing to help. But everybody was so scared to lose their spot back then that not a lot of veterans wanted to help. So, you know, the few that did, I really kind of hung around them and absorbed it. But it's just, you know, it's great to see, you know, turn on the TV and see yourself, you know, and you're like, wow, you know, and I kind of tell some of the people now that only watch wrestling in the last 5 years, I tell them, you know, I used to be young and cute, you know, and, you know, it's kind of giggle about that, but, you know, it's kind of funny. It's a great thing to look back and think, man, where did all that go? I was very fortunate to be in that. You know, I wouldn't have traded that for the world. A lot of great people.
It was, and you know what? As a fan, I loved that stuff. I mean, I was an 11-year-old kid when GWF came out, and it was the greatest thing in the world because you got off school at 3 o'clock, you went home, you got yourself a snack, and 4 o'clock on ESPN was an hour of wrestling every single day, and that was just
awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, do that, eat dinner, then do your homework, and that was your day for the evening. And you know, it was the case even if you had a buddy come over, they wanted to watch it too. So I thought I would love to go back and find out what the ratings were for that compared to some of the other companies out there, because I guarantee you there was a lot more people watching than any of us thought there were.
Exactly. Yeah, overseas also, wherever ESPN went, we went. Really? And you know, I would come back, Houston, and talk to some of my buddies that I graduated with, even, you know, the next year after graduation. And some of my buddies were at college, and they're saying, you know, they're telling all their friends, oh, that's my boy, that's my buddy, you know. And they're like, yeah, right, you don't know him, and all that kind of cool stuff. So, you know, that was kind of one of the cool pluses that went along with it, that, you know, my school family actually was watching us. So, you know, and we didn't really have the teen heartthrob type stuff going on back then. Like, you know, the wrestlers, the teen heartthrobs weren't thrown into the teen heartthrob magazines and stuff like they are nowadays.
That's true. Yeah. I get where you're going from with that. So obviously we're going to talk a little bit about Global. We'll talk a little bit about your later career as well. My question, I guess, for you is, I'm enthralled with Global and the bizarre story that it is, you know, how it came to be and how it fizzled and then got better when it was not off of ESPN and then completely shut down. I guess my take on it, and you kind of already went into it a little bit, is what was it like to be a part of that? And furthermore, you guys in the light heavyweight division were really the precursor for a lot of what we saw in later years in WCW with the cruiserweight division, TNA with the X division. You guys really were kind of the place where it started, and often they referenced, you know, the Lightning Kid and Jerry Lynn and yourself were really impact players in
and a lot of people say that. A lot of people say that, you know, myself, X-Pac, Jerry Lynn, and some of those guys were the pioneers of the high flying.
Right.
But you know, and it's a little bit different now. You know, we wrestled and we did high flying moves, but we weren't all flippity floppity, do a move just to do a move, and look at me. You know, we wrestled, and you know, that's one of the things that made it so special. It wasn't just like, hey, we weren't acrobats, we were wrestlers doing high risk maneuvers.
Exactly,
so,
and you could do the flips, but you didn't just do flips. It was a nice mixture.
We wrestled on top of that. Right. So, you know, I was blessed to be part of that. I grew up in an era that it was wrestling. We were on the brink of sports entertainment, but we still wrestle, and you know, it was a great thing. And you know, it's kind of funny. Something hit me as you're explaining the downfall of it. At the time, you know, I've never really told anybody before. It's kind of, you know, I was going through, you know, I was young, dumb, full of, you know, and
I got you.
So I had a couple girlfriends, you know, and stuff back then, and you know, I guess, you know, I was in a position where a lot of girls liked me, but so I had a girlfriend that I was crazy for, and turned into a fiance and stuff, and so we were I was taking a little hiatus, if you will, not really a break, but, you know, I took time off, a couple months off to kind of evaluate where our situation was going. And when I did, and I was like, okay, I'm ready to go back, Global shut down.
Yeah, I know.
Just like, damn. So, you know, and then the same thing happened while I was working with Shawn Michaels. I was working in there, and I said, Shawn, you know, I'm getting married, and I need to take some time off. And he's like, yeah, shoot, I hate to see you leave. We really need you, but all right, I understand. So a month goes by and I give Shawn a call and he's like, yeah, stuff kind of happened while you were gone. And it's like, man, it's kind of like, okay, federations don't want me to leave kind of now because, if I leave, their company goes to crap, I guess.
That's it. Yeah, unfortunate coincidences. Yeah, exactly.
Right. So, so a note out there to promoters, hire me and keep me on.
Yeah, don't let him go on. If he gets married, don't give him time off.
Right, I guess right. Yeah, awesome.
Well, I mean, that's exactly what I wanted to talk about is, it's a rarity. And I'm going to go back to your style a little bit because your father was the definitive big man. And you were definitely, especially in your youth, kind of the opposite of that. You obviously could wrestle, but I wouldn't expect to see your father doing springboards, nor nor would I think that anybody, over a certain weight limit should, because that's just not what they do. So
and that's what he scared the crap out of people when he dropped, 400+ pound guy, 72-inch chest, dropped the elbow off the top rope.
I saw him do it. Oh, that's crazy. Yeah.
Yeah.
He was incredibly athletic. How's he doing, by the way?
Yeah. It's kind of rough. Back in the day, you should have seen him play tennis. He blew everybody away. Yeah.
Doug Taylor
to see him on the tennis player, to see him play tennis and to see him play golf, you would have never imagined, but every time he blew everybody away.
Wow.
On both, and he forced them, he always had the lowest score, and so that's pretty crazy. But now he's pretty, keeping good spirits, wanting to keep active and do things. It's just, rough with Agent Orange and diabetes and, a hip replacement years ago from dropping all those elbows.
Right.
And just, he's kind of hating the issues that he's not being able to get up and walk and do everything. And this last Thanksgiving, my son's with the Boy Scouts, so we actually went for a rock recovery here in Houston, where they help out. They help veterans coming back with post-traumatic stress disorder. Teach them how to play guitars and play band instruments and stuff. And they have
very cool,
a nice little place here. Well, we actually fed roughly 100 or more veterans this Thanksgiving at their establishment. So Dad comes walking in, and Paul, the owner of the place, comes walking out to greet him, and there's like 50 people all of a sudden at the door out of nowhere. I saw Dad come, and there's just the doorman, and then all of a sudden Dad shows up, and the place is all at the front door now to greet Dad, and he can't really walk much. He's in a walker. So Paul says, you know what, hold on a minute. Let me go get something. So he went and got him a hover round.
Oh, wow.
And he's like, somebody donated this to us to give to a veteran. Why don't you take this home with you tonight?
Oh, wow.
Is that not awesome? Yeah, so there was an angel looking out for us. So, that kind of boosts his spirits up a little bit. That's like a $4,000 chair.
It is, absolutely,
yeah. So, that was pretty cool. So the Boy Scouts went and fed the veterans, and we ended up, Dad gave around, hover around. So
that's very cool.
Pretty awesome. Yeah.
Awesome.
So he's keeping good spirits, and maybe you can call him up one day and interview him, because he likes to help out the newer generation still. He still goes down to the gym. He went down on his birthday to our gym in Houston where we train people.
Right.
And so he's gets up when he can, when his spirits are good and when his body's letting him.
Awesome.
Which
I
is
could
rough,
I could tell from some of your posts around the time when they re-aired, I should say, some of your matches where you guys got to team up, that those matches obviously meant a whole lot to you.
They did. It was a very special time. Not everybody can say that they've done that. Not only done it, but done it with their dad or another family member. So it's like, it's a rare thing, and it's a special group that I share with, the Funks, the Von Erichs, the Guerreros, and, a handful of others, the Smiths, and, it's the Hearts. There's not many in that group, maybe 20, 30 in that elite group. So it's kind of special.
That is very cool. Now, you mentioned it. I wanted to get your opinion, and this is something that we've talked about ad nauseum on this show, so I think we have to bring it up, is those later shows on ESPN, they got pretty bad. And I'm talking after the Bungee Chord match. I got a question about the Bungee Chord match, but I'm talking about towards the end. And we interviewed Doyle King about a year and a half. Doyle mentioned that the shows on Dallas TV were much better than the shows that they put on ESPN because they were handcuffed as for what they could put on TV. Thoughts on that, and basically, did you think, and we'll talk a little bit about TWA as well, but did you think that Global at the time of '94, when they did close, I know you had just stepped away for a little bit, still had some legs to it? Because I have some of those matches, some of those episodes, and they were really strong. At no point am I watching the show and thinking, like at the end of WCW, wow, this is jumped the shark. No, it was still a solid show.
No, it was still solid, and like I say, I was proud to be a part of it. And at no time I thought it was a jump the shark. I mean, because they were constantly, we had our stable of guys that were there. Akbar had his guys, and then we had guys like me, Terry Sims,
right,
that we were the baby faces, and then Akbar had his stable of heels, and then when they fluctuated other guys in and out of there. So, I mean, they had some great talent there. So it was like, who's up and coming plus who's veterans, the names. And that's what a lot of promoters out there don't understand. And I pray that, you can reach out to them and get them to understand that what they're doing now in the NWA and what's helping it stay alive is they're great. They're bringing in some of the veterans and some of the new guys and some of the gimmicks, some of the old school. There's a combination and a mixture of everything. It's not just cookie cutter. Okay, you got everybody from Gold's Gym, World's Gym, and everybody from Cirque du Soleil. You have wrestlers, old school, new school, in between, and a melting pot, and that's what everybody wants to see. Nobody wants to see just a cookie cutter, beautiful body. And even me at 290, I can do the moonsault, and people are like, okay, wow, or a cartwheel, and I can entertain the crowd without doing flippity flops. Nowadays you see on TV, they get into a house show. Some of them don't even know what a house show is. They don't know the difference between a TV show and a house show. So I'm blessed to be part of that. Because some of these kids, you see them on TV, and they do shows with us at these places where there's no TV, and the crowd is dead because they don't know how to entertain the crowd.
Wow. And it's different. It's different to work a house show than it is to work a TV taping.
Right. Well, you interact with the crowd less on a TV show, but it's your livelihood when you're in the crowd, and there's no TV. If you don't interact with the crowd, and I tell my guys down at the gym all the time that if you act like the crowd's not there, they're not going to act like you're there. That's common sense.
Exactly.
So,
it sure is.
And if you watch a lot of stuff that's on TV nowadays, they're they don't even acknowledge the crowd, which I think is sad. Because a lot of these guys. I was talking to Stevie Ray the other day on the telephone. He called me up and was talking about that. He's like, these kids nowadays aren't doing what we did, and that's kind of sad.
Yeah. How's he doing, by the way?
He's doing real well. Staying busy, staying active. He's an entrepreneur and philanthropist. He's got his money in a lot of different things and just kind of enjoying life now, He's had a lot of different businesses. Some have gone good, some haven't, but he keeps a smile on his face, and he's one of the good old boys that, if you're good with him, he's good with you, and he don't get caught up in the drama and all the ridiculous crap that you don't need to, He's
exactly.
And he never forgets a friend. That's what's pretty cool about it too. There's some guys out there that, if you're on top, they want to be your friends, and if you're not, they don't.
Yeah.
But Stevie is always, a couple times a year he gives me a call to see what's going on. So, there's some good guys out there that are like that.
Yeah, I haven't spoken to him since he and Booker were starting to do their own thing back in 2005. So I'm due to give him a call at some point if he'll return my call. But
I'll talk to him. I'll talk to him and call you.
Awesome. Well, you mentioned it a few times, and TWA. Now, Texas Wrestling Academy, for those who don't know, and Shawn Michaels was doing it with Fruity Boy Gonzalez, and it was a promotion down there in Texas.
Yep.
And I mean, I sent you some of the tapes, and it was really good stuff. And you could tell you could tell by Shawn Michaels doing the commentary that he liked what you did. I mean, he got into calling your stuff.
Yeah.
So my question is, what was it like working under Shawn Michaels? And well, let's leave it at that for now, and then I'll ask you more in just a second.
Well, it was great. I mean, you know, I learned a lot from him. I mean, it's kind of like when you're surrounded by such talent, if you choose not to be a sponge and absorb it, there's something mentally wrong with you. You know, and so I mean, and that's what kind of off topic, but guys in the locker room nowadays, they don't want to. They think that they're being rude if they go up to a veteran and talk to him and sit and ask questions, but to the veteran, it's completely opposite. We're thinking, well, this kid's too good to come talk to me. Screw him. You know, if he doesn't want to learn, if he doesn't want to get better, I'm not going to help him. You know, so Shawn was really open and warm, and, you know, he's like, hey, okay, this is, you know, what we want. This is what's going to happen, and, you know, what are your thoughts? What can you do better? And Shawn, and at the time, I had the mullet, and Shawn was like, well, let it all grow. He was the one that gave me the idea to let my hair all grow one length, and called me the Love Machine, and we ran with it. So, you know, and it was good to be in the ring with him, and, you know, it was kind of like he looked at me as an equal, and, you know, he trusted me and Dad and our guys to get in there and beat the hell out of Bryan Danielson and Lance Cade and all of his students, and just because he knew it would make him better, you know, and he knew that if he was going to get in there, or we were getting in there with his boys, that they were only going to learn from us, you know, and in turn, and we would learn from them.
Absolutely.
So it was pretty awesome. It was, I mean, another one of those times that where you're like, you know, I was blessed to be there, you know, and thankfully I listened to the veterans as I was coming up to get the knowledge to where Shawn saw something in me to help me and keep me part of his family. And it's kind of funny, too, that we found out later, okay, you know, I don't want to mess up anything that, you know, people say he's from San Antonio. He's from San Antonio. Okay, we all know that.
Right.
But I was born in Clinton, Iowa. My dad was born in Clinton, Iowa. And Shawn Michaels was born in Clinton, Iowa.
Oh, wow. Cool.
So I'm like, you know, after we found that out, because his mom and their family and everybody came to a bunch of the shows, and, you know, we got pretty close. And, you know, when we got to find out that we were all from Clinton, Iowa, a little town, you know, on the map of the far east of Iowa, that we're all from this little town together, and, you know, we kind of hit it off after that. So
that's really cool.
It's pretty cool. Yeah.
I did not know that. Yeah.
Yep.
Very cool. And you already told about the end of your stint in TWA, but you did have a brief stint in ECW. Now,
I did.
This was not a very.
Oh man, brother, that was the end of that too.
Yeah, I was going to say that.
Oh, that's awesome. Wow.
Did you get married that time? Or, just kidding.
Well, you know, I think it was right around the same time as Shawn Michaels.
There you go. Yeah.
So it was shortly after that, but yeah, I was I might have, you know, I tore my ACL, MCL meniscus at doing Shawn's show, and so I took time off for surgery, and it was right after that I kind of, yeah, you're right, it is that. So I was, and I ended up getting a real job, so I had insurance to get my knees operated on, and one of the Texan surgeons, Dr. Walter Love in the country, operated on my knees. So, you know, he's got me back in the ring doing stuff that I've done before and even more. So, you know, I was blessed to have a great surgeon there. But, yeah, I totally forgot about it. I was there the night that Sandman got naked in the middle of the ring, too. What a crazy night.
Yeah, we talked a little bit off air to Rod Price, and Rod Price obviously was there for the whole journey through GWF,
Yes,
and
great
he was
guy.
there in ECW, and he talks about how great of a. He actually says the most fun he ever had was in ECW. Now I don't know if you were there long enough to agree with that, but what was it like working ECW and compared maybe to the GWF?
Well, it was kind of the same. I mean, it was a little more rough, but they let me stay with my style. They didn't really ask anything of me other than just do what you do. There was, I did my thing, and I tailored it kind of with whoever I was in the ring for, and, made the most of my image and whoever's image I was in there with. And, every time I went in there to steal the show. So, and it was kind of, that's just the way I did it. I was going to, no matter who they put me in there with, I'm like, all right, let's do it. That's the match the people are going to remember something about that match.
That's true, and that's kind of what I wanted to get to is, like I said, ECW was not in its best state. A lot of people say that Paul Heyman's heart wasn't in it as much as it once had been. Unfortunately, you were coming in at a time when they weren't really flourishing in terms. I mean, ticket sales were great and TV ratings were great, but in terms of the remembered creativity of the company, it was already on its decline.
Right. Well, that was a lot of office people telling them what they could do, what they couldn't do. That was same with Global. The network people saying, okay, this is what we want on TV, and they even were pushing people down their throat, saying, okay, this is who we want to see on TV. No matter, I don't care if the fans like this guy, I want to see this guy.
Yeah. Kind
of deal. So it was kind of rough, but I mean, hey, you want to be on TV, you want to play with the big boys, you gotta do what the big boys want.
Compromise, play ball.
Yep.
Any of those, absolutely. Well, I mean, I guess what I'm trying to get at is, did you hope to maybe move up the card more in the ECW run, or do you think that there was really not any room for that, given where they were at?
Oh yeah, I did. I would have, every time I was in the locker room with them, the boys were family, and and I had the opportunity, but then all of a sudden, the demise came, and temper started flaring and stuff, and then it just, I wasn't at the right place when they got bought out, and then we switched over, and it just kind of, I wasn't one of the regulars, so, I didn't have enough legs to stand on, even though I had 10, 15 years at the time. I wasn't one of the stable roster.
Right,
when I was available and around, I'd go do their shows, but I wasn't, one of the regular TV guys, so it kind of, I didn't really have as much leg to stand on.
Very cool. And as a fan, that was disappointing to me that, your name was always one that was always like, where is he at? He should be doing something.
Yeah.
Why isn't he in WCW when we got, Sean Waltman went on to huge heights as X-Pac?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it was really cool to see you get that opportunity, and I think we all were kind of thinking, all right, well, he can cut his teeth here and really make an impact. And unfortunately, like I said, it just was not a position where the company was ready to do that with anybody. Anybody knew, really. But on a positive note, because I don't want to be a downer, you mentioned the NWA. We had James Beard on recently, and how involved are you in their quest to grow and their expansion into the modern wrestling era, and really, for lack of a better way of putting it, their rebirth and their recapturing of their glory days?
Well, I was actually instrumental in it, because I've been with NWA for probably 15 years, I'd say. Well, yeah, okay, I'd guess like since 95 maybe.
When they came into the Sportatorium?
No, I'm sorry, no, like 05, 04, 05.
There you go, yeah.
So I guess that's probably, 9-10 years. I ran a lot of shows, did a bunch of different NWA shows in and around Texas and the surrounding states. And there was kind of a good old boy network, and, it's kind of out there now. Everybody knows that, if you were in the clique, you got taken care of. It wasn't, okay, well, this is a great wrestler, we're going to take care of him, and it kind of sucked. But, they took care of some of the guys, but, you never really had a shot if you're over 30, 35, like no matter who you are, they don't care. They're not going to do anything with you. No matter if you got more talent in one arm than they got in their whole body, they didn't really care. So, and if you didn't play their games in politics,
right.
But I helped get the new regime into power, kind of, if you will. And
how so?
They've done well, because there was a bunch of behind the scenes stuff of unethical and different things going on, to where the new partners ended up getting the control of the company. So because of just stuff that, I don't know if I can.
Yeah. No, don't perjure yourself.
Yeah.
Get yourself
but just some stuff that, they thought it better to resign and hand the company over to these new people. And I kind of got these new people into the business. One of the owners used to sit in the crowd at mine and my dad's shows, and we ended up making him part of our family, became one of our announcers, and then the announcer, and then partial business owner with us. And then just when things kind of, if you kind of look at the two business owners, you'll see which one of them it is.
There you go.
So and then he ended up, when NWA became part of these two guys, there was a conflict of interest, really, of the new NWA World Headquarters being in Houston and me being a co-owner in a company in Houston. So, I bowed out, sold my part of the company to the guys, and, Dad and I just kind of sat back and watched them do their thing and supported them. And in just a short time, partners with wrestling companies all over the world now. So, I mean, just in leaps and bounds in this short period of time, they've done wonderful things.
Absolutely.
And when everybody thought that they were going to die down and, wither up, some great things have came from it. So, and I was proud to be part of it.
Absolutely.
And I'm not saying that the old regime is bad guys, because there were a lot of guys that I consider to be my friends.
Right.
Guys that took care of me when I wrestled with them. And if I called them up now, I'm sure they'll take care of me, as if they needed me, I'd be there for them. But some of the key players had issues, and in every family, there's people with issues.
Exactly, yeah. That's in the wrestling business, that's especially true.
True, right? Yeah, we have more than some.
Exactly, that's right.
Yeah.
Now, you mentioned a few times your gym, and I've been reading your comments of late, and you're getting a little more outspoken towards the mindset of the young wrestlers and share personal views a little bit more.
Yeah.
First of all, where can we find this your gym, and what's involved in getting involved?
Taylor's Pro Wrestling Factory in Houston, Texas, at 1702 Rothwell Street. We actually train 2 nights a week, and I mean, if you wanted to look at our Facebook page, Taylor's Pro Wrestling Factory, and I don't want to brag and name all the names. You could look at our alumni, and a lot of the guys are on current rosters now, and have been over the years, and myself included. But some of the guys have really gone on to do a lot of different things. So, we don't actually teach people how to act like professional wrestlers. We teach people how to be professional wrestlers. And that sets us apart from a lot of so-called schools out there and factories. So, and I take pride in that. Dad and I take pride in that because, there's a lot of yahoos out there that have never done anything, never been anywhere, right, and don't have a clue, and they have schools.
And they train wrestlers, which is like, oh my God.
Yeah, and they train people, and you're like, oh my God, and then, which is good for us in a way, because there's promoters out there that contact me for some guys, and I'll take a guy that's been wrestling a year at my school, and they go in the ring with somebody that's been wrestling 5, 6, 7, 8 years, and you're like, oh my God, you've been wrestling that long? And the guy that's been in the business a year blows them away, because he's well-rounded, and he knows the business, and he respects the business, and he learns how to wrestle, and he respects everybody in the locker room. And, it's kind of the simple things of, it starts when you walk into the locker room. You put your bag down, you go around and shake everybody's hand.
Exactly.
Go pick your bag up and find a seat.
I'm going to share a story with you.
Not many places that work. Not many schools teach that kind of common sense stuff.
Exactly. And I'm going to share a story with you. You'll probably get a kick out of, and this was, over a decade ago. Young wrestler I was buddies with at the time gave me a call and didn't have a clue. I'm being truthful with you, he didn't have a clue. And he was calling me from backstage at an event where Dusty Rhodes was. Okay? Mm-hmm. So I'm hearing a guy talking in the background, and you can tell when somebody's trying to duck into a corner to finish their phone conversation. And I said, well, wait a minute, what's going on over there? And he said, I don't know, some old guy in a cowboy hat's talking to me. I said, look, I know enough to know that's Dusty Rhodes. Put the damn phone down and listen to what he has to say. He said, put the damn phone down and listen. And, that person's no longer in the business, but, you got that's just scary. It's scary that people would not know enough about the history that get involved in it.
Right. You saw my latest post. I mean, it's like, okay, you don't know who these people are? Oh, my God. I mean, what NFL player doesn't know Lyle Alzado, or people that, it's mind-boggling that people, the NBA and all these other pro sports, these kids coming up, they know who the people are before them.
You got to know.
And, why are we any different? Because we're the only pro sports that admits that we're entertainment and the other ones don't? Is that what it is? I don't know. A bunch of these kids they figure, they get all starstruck and, I'm going to be a pro wrestler. I'm going to make millions. And they think that they're going to have superstardom within the first year. I got news for you, kid. It takes a little bit longer than that. Ask Cactus Jack.
Exactly.
Ask any of us.
Yeah. You mentioned a lot of guys. You mentioned Lance Cade. I actually, in his very late years, got to be late years. I think I died younger than I am now. He actually get to be a friend. I helped him send out some press releases and things very towards the end of his life. And
very nice guy. Very good
talented kid. Yeah, very talented guy. I call him kid. He was like a month older than me, but
and he had a good head on his shoulders.
He did. It's just a shame. Yeah.
Last time I saw him was at a NWA Southwest show. He pulled me aside and he said that Shawn Michaels was trying to get a hold of me because he lost my number, and he was thinking about starting a school back up. And he's like, he wished he would have gone with me and Dad to help run his school from the beginning. But, we were in a different city. We had our school here in Houston, but in retrospect and in hindsight, what can you do? Nothing.
Absolutely.
And then he was going to send me the number, and then, then the awful happened to Lance, and he was one of the good ones.
He was. He actually contacted me when he was still on the WWE roster, and he said, just letting you know, when I get on the plane, which, there's plane stories with him, unfortunately, but when I get on the plane, I pop on my iPod and I listen to some of your old interviews, and it's like, that is so freaking cool to think that.
That is awesome.
Yeah. Well, man, I'm not going to keep you.
But the great ones like that, they study it, because we have guys down at my gym that they watch stuff from Japan. They watch global stuff. They watch WCCW. They watch all the different things. That's part of their homework, not just, the stuff nowadays. You got to watch and do your research, do your homework, and find out who these guys are and what they did. And if you want to take a little bits from each guy, like Bad News Brown and different guys that were really tough, take little bits from them and steal it and make it your own and run with it. And it amazes me that some of these kids waste money on some of these schools being trained by a guy that went to a school for 2-3 months, and then they figure, okay, well, I learned everything I can learn from you. I'm going to go open my own school.
Well, those ones unfortunately fortunately don't usually last that long either, though.
Right, but they last too long.
They do. Yeah, and they get.
And then once these guys that really want it, they get screwed over. They lose all their money, and then they come knocking on our door to train them, rather than doing their homework first and coming to our school. You know, I mean, there's a few good schools out there. Don't waste your money on the bad ones. You know, go with the ones that have made a name for themselves and proven track record.
Now, I got to ask you, you mentioned Stevie Ray, and I know this might be competition to you, but Booker T's got his own deal going in Houston as well. What's your opinion of what Booker's doing?
Well, and I wasn't even going to point that out. I was going to let everybody go to our alumni page and look for themselves.
There you go.
So, you know, we're cool. I mean, we've had our issues, but, you know, I keep it out of the muddy water. You know, we've had issues, but, you know, we shook hands and hug each other, and, you know, we're good. I'd say a quarter of his roster over there is from our school. So what's that tell you? You know, that's respect if he's going to use in our school. Yeah. So
absolutely cool.
Yeah.
All right,
but
man.
he's got a good product. You know, I'm not saying anything bad about it. He's got a good thing going over there. So
he does.
You know, in a way, I kind of equate it with what Shawn had. He's got a few veterans in there to help train the new guys.
That's right. Yeah, he certainly does. I got to ask you a couple more questions before I let you go. But
okay.
It involves going back to global a little bit. I've been to Madison Square Garden. I've been to U.S. Airways Center out here in Phoenix. I've been to some of the iconic places, Giants Stadium and Yankee Stadium. I've been to all these places, but the one sports venue, and I'll call it a sports venue, that I haven't gone to, and obviously never will, is the Sportatorium. What made that old metal building so special to be?
It was kind of an aura. I mean, it's kind of like it was hallowed ground, you know, because of all of the great godlike people that have graced that land. I mean, the history is rich in blood and names, and I mean, you could just do your history and look at the thousands of great people that came through there and stepped foot in that building. It's hallowed ground, and they tore it down for tax money. It's really sad.
It is. It's heartbreaking.
Yeah, very heartbreaking. Very heartbreaking. And a similar place to that, if you will, is the Coliseum, Sam Houston Coliseum in Houston.
In Houston.
That was another one.
Yeah, Paul Bosch's
yes.
old stomping.
They tore that down and made it into a little new arena and kind of theater. But, you know, I was there with, you know, Ric Flair, DiBiase with Dad, and Andre the Giant, and Rock and Roll Express. I was on a show with a bunch of those guys. That it was neat to be there to see my dad in the ring with all those guys. And then, like a year before they tore it down, I was wrestling there. And it's like, wow, I'm glad that I didn't miss that opportunity. You know, but there's places like that that are all over the world that there's just kind of hollowed ground. And I mean, you can't explain it.
Did you ever get a chance?
It's indescribable.
Did you ever get a chance to work the ECW arena?
I did. Yeah, that was pretty awesome too.
How did that old, you know, in its infancy, and I'm sure they did some renovations prior to your getting there because they did get a little bit of money, but in its infancy, I remember there was like wooden planks that led to the bathroom over puddles. It was pretty pretty cruddy. Well, how did that, you know, venue compare to, you know, the old Sportatorium, the Sam Houston?
It was a lot more intimate. I mean, it was packed, which, I mean, intimate in many different ways because it was a little smaller than the Coliseum, but it was, I mean, there were people on each other's shoulders and each other's backs. It was like standing room only. I mean, it was kind of people hanging on the walls and stuff. It was pretty awesome.
Very cool. And I think that I'm sure if you know, you mentioned Cactus Jack. If Cactus Jack does an interview, he's got to talk about taking the bump off the cage at King of the Ring '98. Well, if Chaz Taylor does an interview, he's got to talk about the Bungee Chord Match. And,
the first and only world's first and only, right?
The world's first and only. And I remember watching it as
Yeah.
a kid, and I'm thinking to myself, this is nuts. I mean, that doesn't look safe, and these guys are going to kill themselves. What was it like getting in there in that little crate and having that match?
My sphincter's never been so tight. It was, I mean, that's kind of sums it up. I mean, that was the scariest damn thing I've ever done. And I mean, I'd probably do one again if the money was right, but it was, you know, and the jackwads at the World's Records places, they were like, oh, well, you know, they were all geared up to show up and record it and put us in the Guinness Book of World Records for the world's highest match.
Right.
And then the week of, they're like, no, because then somebody's going to go up next week 5 feet higher, then the next week 5 feet higher, and so on and so on. So they rejected us. It's like, oh, my God. You know, and it came off not as good as had planned because halfway up, the camera inside the cage went out. Nobody knew that. So, you know, it was kind of uneventful for people on the floor, on the ground. But, you know, it was, like I say, I think my skin was grabbing a hold of the cage to not let go. I mean, it was the scariest thing I've ever done. And, I mean, I know Steve Dane was kind of worried that night too. I think he had dark trunks on that night.
That was just a nuts match, and I mean I've never seen anything like it, and they never did it again. And I remember when they started airing these classics, these episodes on ESPN Classic, I kept thinking, all right, now they're doing the Doyle King era, so that's after that, and then they started showing the Craig Johnson era, and I'm thinking, all right, it's a little after that, so hopefully we get that. And then when they aired it, I was so excited. I'm like, oh, I finally get it on tape, man. DVD or whatever. But that's awesome, man. Yeah. That was a really cool thing. And
that was Akbar's idea. I mean, it totally was. And I was like, what the hell did I just get myself into? It was an
idea?
It was Akbar's idea, yeah.
Oh, wow.
So I was like, you know, I was young, dumb, and I was just like, all right, let's do it.
Did you get injured in that at all?
No, I came out okay, but, you know, I could have died because, you know, they shook the cage and I flew out, and I was less than 10 feet. My feet were 10 feet from the ground before I sprung back up.
That's insane.
So, yeah, it was, and my dad and my mom were standing there and their knees were just shaking. Yeah, it was pretty scary. But I'm glad that I did it. It was awesome. All said and done, it was pretty cool. You know, and people downplay it now. They joke about it being the corniest gimmick or this and that. But for everybody that was there, it wasn't the corniest gimmick that was happening. I mean, it was the event of the year, if not years. But, you know, nobody wants to admit that. They downplayed it, but it is what it is, you know.
Yeah. I got to throw a couple names at you that were involved in that. One of my favorites growing up, and probably the most complete character that the GWF ever had, was Maniac Mike Davis. And any memories of Maniac Mike? He was one that
that was like me and Dad now, that he was a thirst of knowledge that he would, like, if you wanted to learn, he would teach you. He took me under his wing, as he quite often beat the hell out of me, but gave me learning lessons, you know, and he's like, okay, if this happens, you know what to do next time, kind of stuff, and watch out for this. And I mean, he was like an uncle to me. He was one of the great ones, and he had a mind. If you had any questions about anything, he was one to go to. He was a general in there, in the ring, in the locker room, that, you know, even a lot of the veterans at the time went to Mike. And they're like, well, go ask Mike. You know, if you had a question there, go ask Mike. So he was a great guy.
Very cool. All right, and I got to ask.
And I loved beating the hell out of him too.
Funny, he was one of the funniest characters. I mean, he was so complete, and you could tell he just knew. He knew what he was doing, and there was no. I mean, there's so much room for that, and they've tried to duplicate that kind of maniac character so many times, and in my opinion, never been done as good. Never been done as well. Eugene and
Mike
all the
was
others.
good.
Yeah, he was good.
No, I like Dinsmore, but Maniac Mike Davis was. I was at a WWF camp with Nick Dinsmore and Joey Legend and a bunch of the guys, and Nick was a great guy, but Mike was he set the standard. Nobody's been able to reach it.
Absolutely not. And I guess probably your biggest rival, if you mapped out your career, the biggest rival that kind of flowed with your career, at least in the early stages, I got to ask you about him. And off the air, we've talked about him. Stephen Dane. What's your thoughts on your Skyliners tag partner?
It was great. I mean, they didn't expect us to take off like we did, and we did. I mean, it was two guys that love to beat the hell out of each other, and he, again, because of his knowledge and all the places he's gone internationally, he was a wealth of knowledge. So, again, I was fortunate enough to, in my infancy years, to learn from another ring general, and he became a brother, and Terry Sims as well. Luckily, early on in my career, I was surrounded by just a wealth of talent that just helped me out, took care of me, took me under their wing, beat the hell out of me, let me beat the hell out of them, and I mean, Steve is still. He looks better now than he did then, and he always looked great. Yeah, no, I talked to him a couple months ago, and he doesn't want to be found. He's wanting to just enjoy life.
Right.
So there's only a few of us that know where he is, but he's enjoying life. And like, he showed up at one of the shows up in up north Texas with us, and showed up, and everybody was like, damn, that guy's built. Who is he? That's my former tag partner, Stephen Dane. Like, oh crap, and everybody was like peeing on himself because he looked better now than he did then.
Yeah,
but he's enjoying life with less worries, and he's doing great, and I'm happy for him. He doesn't have to take bumps and wake up sore every morning anymore.
Yeah, that's the life of a wrestler, right?
Yep.
All right, man. So to wrap up, you mentioned your Facebook page, but could you do it one more time? Where can people find out more about the Taylor Family Gym?
Facebook is the Taylor's Pro Wrestling Factory.
Taylor's Pro Wrestling Factory. I apologize.
Taylor's Pro Wrestling Factory. Right. It's at 1702 Rothwell Street in Houston, Texas. And it's actually around this corner. The entrance of the gym is around the corner. It kind of looks a little shady, but it's true. The bridge, there's the overpass right as our entrance is, because the way the building's set up, the post office put our address on one street, but all the doors are on the other street. That don't make any sense to me. But, you when you go down there, you'll see all the cars, and you'll see the big red door and stuff. So, and if you can't find that, which you should be able to find it, link onto my page on Facebook as Chaz Taylor, and just type into my friends Taylor's Pro Wrestling Factory, and you'll be able to find it, and they can hit me up, and they can text me. I don't always answer my phone because, people call me at all kinds of hours for some reason. I don't know why. But, if you text me, I'll text back. But you call me, I haven't listened to my voicemail in over a year.
Wow.
Yeah. Even my parents get on me all the time. They're like, why don't you check your voicemail? Well, it's because my friends and family know to text me.
There you
go. So.
Very cool.
I apologize if anybody calls me and it's an unknown number and I don't answer. Once the numbers are programmed into my phone, I'll answer. If I'm not busy. But I've been real busy lately doing commercials, movies, music videos, and movie trailers and different stuff. So if I'm not wrestling, I'm doing one of those things. I did. That was pretty awesome.
That was very cool.
Thank you. So I'm looking forward to doing some more. And just after Christmas, I got a part in the Anna Nicole Smith movie, so I gotta be doing that. So they're gonna be filming some of it down at our gym. Yes, and her mom's all behind it, and so we're pretty excited. We got some great people involved in that. Bruce Countryman's a director, and Jenny Babas is helping us out, and just a wealth of knowledge and talent behind it. So they're making it kind of like a musical, also. So because the other couple, Anna Nicole Smith, didn't really the movies kind of didn't get the exposure and the success it anticipated. So we're going a different venue or different avenue with this, and I think this one might be the one that really is something special, and I'm excited to be part of it.
Yeah, one of the biggest names of the 21st century that unfortunately we don't have with us anymore. So absolutely,
right.
A story on her would be very interesting.
Yep. And I actually knew her. She's from Houston here. We used to work
her
out at the same gym. Yep. So, that's pretty cool.
Wow, did not know that. Very cool, man. Well, I'll tell you what. Everybody should check out Taylor's Pro Wrestling Factory on Facebook. And I hope everybody does check out the ESPN Classic show. Unfortunately, it's kind of showing the same 5 episodes every night. I don't know if you ever
give it time; they'll loop around. Yeah, I watch it every once in a while.
Yeah, they kind of it drives me nuts. They show 3 episodes and they show the start from the first one they showed and showed again. So it's kind of like, all right, well, I guess there's not any point recording this, but I record them all the time, hoping maybe they'll show something that I haven't seen before, and that's awesome stuff. So I hope I wish you the best of luck, man. Thank you for spending this time with us. I was looking forward to this tremendously, and I'm so glad you spent the time with us tonight. Well,
thank you, brother. It's a pleasure. Anytime you want to call, give me a call. I'd be happy to talk to you.
All right, man. Hey, before I let you go, can I ask for one last favor?
Yes, sir.
Would you give me basically a station ID, just saying this is Chaz Taylor and you're listening to Interactive Wrestling Radio?
Yeah. This is Chaz Taylor and you're listening to Interactive Radio. Oh, shoot, I screwed that up. Say it again.
Interactive Wrestling. Don't worry, everybody gets it wrong.
Yeah, too many chairs to the head. Too many chairs to the head. That's my excuse.
Bobby
Interactive. Say it again.
Interactive Wrestling Radio. Bobby Heenan once said that he took so many chairs to the head that his head smells like ass.
That's true. Interactive Wrestling Radio.
That's right. Yes, sir.
Okay. This is Chaz Taylor, and let me start again. Sorry, I can't say shit either, can I?
No problem at all, man. No.
Are we on air or are we off the air?
This is going to be airing on the weekend. We're gonna put.
Okay, so you're editing this out.
Oh yeah, no, I had to edit a lot.
Okay.
Lanny swore like a sailor, so I was sitting there for like 3 hours editing the thing out. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. This is Chaz Taylor, and you're listening to Interactive Wrestling Radio.
Awesome.
Now let me say it again. I kind of screwed that one up.
No problem.
Paused. Okay. This is Chaz Taylor, and you're listening to Interactive. Crap. It's like when I'm doing the movie scenes and stuff. There's one time I did one, and I had to keep going over and over and over. And I'm like, so the director says, just be comfortable and be calm, And my line in the movie was, I was standing over there with my cock in my hand, and an idea came to me. So be ready for that movie to come out. It's pretty awesome.
What movie was that?
It's called A Promising Game. There's some theater trailers on my Facebook of it, and if you look at one of the scenes and you kind of play it, you hit play pause, and slow it down.
Right.
You'll see one of the still frames of me standing there, holding myself with my back to the camera, with the other guys standing around me. And that's how the scene starts. So it's like, I'm standing over there with my cock in my hand, and an idea came to me. So I'm standing there saying, I said like cock like 10 times, and they're like, okay, stop saying cock. So that was awesome. All right, let me try again.
Sure.
This is Chaz Taylor, and you're listening to Interactive Wrestling Radio.
This is Terry Garvin Sims, and you're listening to the Interactive Interview.
All right, everybody, welcome back to Interactive Wrestling Radio. We just wrapped up with the one and only Chaz Taylor, the Love Machine, the Teen Heartthrob, the American Heartthrob, the American Chippendale. He's got a lot of names, but he is one guy and great talent.
He's like Apollo Creed.
Well, actually, I'm going to call you on that. Give me some of Apollo Creed's nicknames.
The Count of Monte Fisto. Trying to remember Rocky IV. He had like a ton of them. That's the one that really stood out. The Count of Monte Fisto. But there were. Trust me, there were like a ton of them. Go back and rewatch Rocky IV. I'm not lying.
Oh, absolutely. And that has the great song "Burning Heart" in it. So that's a good reason to watch it.
I mean, that whole album. I mean, that whole soundtrack is amazing. I
actually have that soundtrack on CD. That's how good the soundtrack is. It's like, all right, all these songs are awesome. I'm gonna just buy it. So yeah, we just wrapped up with Chaz. Great talent. I mean, a guy who, unfortunately, like a lot of guys that were a part of Global, never got to really explode on the scene to what I believe their talent should have allowed for them. I mean, I say that, but he worked for Michaels as TWA, as we discussed. He worked for ECW, as we discussed. So the guy had opportunities and did work elsewhere, and he did have a couple matches with WWE, but no big runs. Not like in the lead into the interview, I played a clip of him beating Sean Waltman, X-Pac, Lightning Kid, for the light heavyweight title when he was literally 19 years old. I mean, obviously, Waltman went on to greater success in the WWE, but still, the guy had so much talent. I just wish I knew why he didn't get all of the breaks. But there's so many guys like that maybe.
Well, a lot of times it's not talent so much; it's just being in the right place at the right time.
That's kind of what we discussed. He got his chance with ECW, but he was with ECW in 2000, and let's be honest, the only reason to watch ECW in 2000 was for the girls.
That's a pretty fair assessment. And they had other guys, too. There was somebody else. Was it Easy Money I'm thinking of?
Easy Money came in, yeah. He came in.
Yeah, he was another one that looked like he was going to be promising. And RVD was really coming on, and Rhino. So they had some guys, but it was just, creatively it wasn't there, and obviously the money became a problem.
Easy Money was at the bottom end of that. He was definitely not, higher echelon, but he was coming on with a look. Even Nova, Simon Dean, Mike Bucci, he had abandoned the cartoon gimmick. And if you watch that show, don't watch it on the network. Find a way to get the live copy. That was badass when he came out. Guilty as Charged 2001. They started playing Metal Health by Quiet Riot. And it's like, what the hell is that? Joey Styles says. And this guy comes out, and he is shredded from head to toe. And he just looks like a rock god. And yes, I know I'm talking about Simon Dean, but Jesus, look at that show. He was shredded. And he hit some moves that I still haven't seen since. He was just badass, man. I mean, that dude, if that company parlayed, probably would have ended up being one of their higher echelon guys.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of guys were seizing the opportunity in the wake of losing all the big names in ECW. And I got to believe that in the, the lightweight division, which was non-existent, they really didn't have a lightweight title, but they had guys like Super Crazy and the Kid Cash, who I don't like very much, and a whole lot of other guys that were there. Chaz Taylor was just one of many. Little Guido was another one that was a lightweight, not in style necessarily, but definitely in.
Yeah, it makes me wonder if ECW had stuck around. Do you think it would have become what Ring of Honor ultimately became? Or it was like it transitioned from like that hardcore style into more of like a Japanese strong style? It ultimately became like the standard American indie style.
No, not necessarily. Maybe to a degree, but not necessarily. Here's my answer to that, and I'm going to be as concise as I can. ECW rode the wave that was society at the time. They were more coarse, certainly more willing to exploit the female form. I mean, Kimono Wanalea dancing naked on top of the arena. I mean, what could you imagine any prior diva doing that? On a other major show, you cannot imagine it. They certainly pushed the envelope. The violence, chair shots, the tables, the burning tables, that was all kind of what ECW cut their teeth on. had it continued, it would have been a little bit play acting. You ever hear? Let me bring it to musical terms. Did you ever hear a band that had a popularity in one genre, and then another genre kind of was more popular than their genre, so they tried to do an album that sounded like the other genre? And it sounds kind of sing-songy and fake and false?
Yeah.
That's what ECW would have come off as if their entire show had become, we're about pure wrestling. No, ECW is hardcore wrestling. And that's just what they were. I'm sure they would have done semantics with what hardcore means. And no, hardcore doesn't mean violence. Hardcore means that we are hardcore devoted to, all this other shit that Paul Heyman would have come up with. But in reality, it would have been sing-songy and fake.
Well, I mean, I'm trying to picture Sandman in an actual wrestling match, and it's kind of funny.
Yeah, he gets a bad rep. He had talent. He just had no.
He had a character. I don't physically. I mean, I watched on the network. I watched Barely Legal.
Yeah.
The very first one. Yeah, and he was in the main event, and I was like, all right, who are the real trained workers here? You got Raven, Terry Funk, and Sandman, and you could tell Sandman hadn't been hitting the gym. Let's just say that.
Well, that's the truth. I mean, let's be blunt. That is the truth. Sandman was not a well-conditioned athlete, but he was talented, so I can't take that from him.
Mm-hmm. Oh, he was charismatic as hell. I mean, I don't doubt that at all. I mean, that entrance, how could you not love him?
I guess. I mean, I guess when you saw it 100 times, it got boring. I hated New Jack's entrance.
Well, I mean, that's true of anything in wrestling. Once you see it, in the case of the WWE, when you see it every single week, you really stop caring after a while.
Well, look at Glacier in WCW, too. It's like $250,000 ring entrance every time they do it because of all the effects that went into it. Once I saw it once or twice, it's like, it's just what it is now.
Now, and we're actually going to transition this into our pay-per-view discussions, but NXT TakeOver, the special that happened a week ago, Finn Balor, better known as Prince Devitt to all the, the smart wrestling fans out there, he made his, which is an entrance he'd done in Japan and stuff with the body paint and everything, but he did it for this special show, and it was amazing, and apparently he's only going to do it for big matches, which, good.
You're going to have to explain to me, because I got to be honest, I've not watched the show. I've had every intention of it. I've even recorded it. I played it and recorded it, but I've not sat down and watched it. So explain to me, what does he do with the body paint?
He has body paint that looks like Venom from Spider-Man, and he had a Predator dreadlock wig on, and the music was really cool, and he timed his movements to the music, and it was really just a phenomenal entrance. And it looked amazing. It was worthy of Undertaker.
Wow, for an NXT guy.
Yeah, oh yeah, he looked like a megastar.
It'll be interesting to see what happens with him.
Yeah, I've always liked Prince Devitt, so I'm happy to see that he's doing well.
Good talent. It's always questionable what a guy from international markets will do in the U.S.
Well, he was tag teaming with Kenta, so he's another guy that there are question marks on him. I mean, ability-wise, he's great. It's just that the big question when he gets to that main roster, what's going to happen? And
will he become Kenzo Suzuki or whatever his name was? Kendo Suzuki.
Kenzo Suzuki, yeah. There's a name out of the past.
Was that his name? The guy who did he came in, beat Billy Gunn, and then started singing Elvis songs or whatever the hell he did.
Yeah, that was him, Kenzo Suzuki.
Yeah, that's an example. You could tell he had a lot of talent, but what can you do on the main roster in WWE is another thing.
Well, a lot of it has to do with creative. I mean, look at some of the NXT guys that have gone up to the main roster. Bo Dallas is amazing in NXT, and I mean that. I don't know if you've seen any of his work in NXT, but he is hilarious. He's funny. He did a segment where it was actually his departure from NXT, where he interacted with the crowd. One of the best crowd interactions I've ever seen from a wrestler. I am not even kidding. I am not. It was one of the best, just interacting and playing with the crowd that I've ever seen from a professional wrestler. I am not joking. go back and watch it. He gets to the main show and he just does the same thing every week. And, after about 8 or 9 weeks of it, people get bored with it and he gets thrown away.
Adam Rose,
same thing, yeah. Fandango. He's another one. I saw potential in Johnny Curtis and, a great talker. That was what impressed me about him right away. It was like, oh, this dude can talk. And it was like, no, all he needs to do is dance. That's it. Paige and Emma, 2 divas. Watch them in NXT, they're great. You watch them on Raw, and it's like, I don't even know what the hell their characters are supposed to be.
Yeah, and it's a shame because they had lightning in a bottle with Paige. I mean, people really got over with her. People really dug her.
Because she doesn't look like a diva.
I guess.
That's a lot of it. I have one of my best friends is kind of gothy, and he is, in love with her. It's really
that's
cute.
Kind of what it is. She's a goth chick, and you cannot forget that not every wrestling fan is a uber football, jock guy. I don't want to say that you and I are, because we'll admit we're nerds, but...
Oh, is there any question?
Yeah, we'll admit we're nerds, but I think that we're not gothy, at least not anymore anyway.
Well, I can't speak for you, but I was never gothy.
Not gothy. I was always kind of metal. I was metal, and I'm still metal, but a little bit less, in your face with it now. But there you go.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's and going back to the Punk podcast, talking about how Vince is out of touch. It's like, Vince, not everybody needs to look like Roman Reigns, which is what Vince loves, and not every diva you get needs to look like a swimsuit model. There are different looks and different styles.
And there's a lot more guys with a lot different tastes. Not everybody likes, and I know she's not there no more, but if you gave me side by side, and God, I hope my wife doesn't walk in right now, a choice at last call, if I'm going to take Kelly Kelly or Paige, I'm not taking Kelly Kelly. All right? I mean, that's just the truth.
Yeah.
So.
In my case, I like dark hair anyway, so
yeah,
I always like...
I like redheads and brunettes, personally, so...
Yeah, there you go. And it just makes it more interesting when you have different characters interact. Why did AJ Lee get over so much? Because they actually gave her a personality, and she doesn't look like every other girl on the show.
Yeah, I mean, people crap on her saying she can't work. I'm thinking, by what standard can't she work?
I think she does fine.
Yeah, I don't understand that. We had some guy who was ranting, she's all looks and no substance. So I'm thinking, there's a lot of girls that would be true of. I don't necessarily think that's true of her at all.
I think if most of her matches that are bad, it's because of who she's working with.
Or the allotted time that they give.
That's another thing. Yeah, and again, we'll tie this into TakeOver, but and just the differences between NXT and the WWE, and we could tie that into TLC as well, but just the differences in booking and how they handle their talents is just extraordinary. I mean, it's like night and day. I mean, that match that Charlotte and Sasha Banks had is one of the best women's matches I've ever seen.
Absolutely. Charlotte Flair, whether she is the daughter of a guy that I think is overblown or not, wow, there's some talent.
She's
there.
not overblown. I made the comparison. She's the Peyton Manning of women's wrestling. She's phenomenal.
Chicken hardly tastes so good.
Okay.
That's catchy, by the way. If you see that commercial one too many times, you'll find yourself just doing that with anything that comes to your mind.
All righty.
Try it.
But to tie it back into WWE, Charlotte, she made her Raw debut, last week? It was right before the TakeOver special. And she gets jobbed out to Natalya in less than 2 minutes, and it's like, I'm not going to Natalya, but I know they don't have a plan for her, because they never do. So why are you introducing this great star from your developmental, who's really the shining female star of your developmental program? You're putting her on Raw for the first time, exposing her to a whole new audience, millions of eyes are watching her, and you make her look like crap in her debut. I don't understand that booking.
It's not only that. You also have to look at it like this. Okay. Good. Sorry, I was looking at something. You have to look at it like this. Those two had a match at the original TakeOver show.
Yeah, and it was phenomenal.
It was phenomenal. So what happened between that show and this Raw that makes this girl who had the phenomenal match with that same girl suddenly less talented and get beat like that? Because that's how it comes off. Whether we want to admit it or not, wins and losses matter in the eyes of the fans. For God's sakes, what is the most popular and spent money upon sports bet of the year? Fantasy football, which is based on what? Stats. Well, wrestling is, there's stats involved. Wins and losses might not be counted quite like an NFL team, but they still matter, and people remember them.
Yeah. Yeah, it's I don't get it. Well, okay, I do get it. It's quite honestly, it's Vince. That's the difference because he doesn't book NXT. So there you go.
Vince doesn't book NXT?
Vince doesn't. No, it's Triple H, one of the other writers, and I think Dusty has a hand in it.
Cool.
Yeah, and it shows it. It's because, like I said, and I can't put it over now.
Not to interrupt, but do you think that he overrides it?
Do you think Vince overrides NXT?
Yeah, like does he give a shit? In other words, I mean, from putting it bluntly.
I think it's Triple H's. I think it's Triple H's like pet project, and that's why it works as well as it does because Triple H is kind of putting his heart and soul into it.
Yeah, and look, I'm tough on Triple H. For all the right reasons, but there you go. He's delivered. He's delivered a good show.
This TakeOver show was great. I mean, it was just top to bottom, just a phenomenal show.
And the main roster knew it.
Everybody knew it. Everybody was like coming out of the show was like, yeah, good luck TLC. Good luck following that. And you had Kevin Steen's debut. He's Kevin Owens, which I'm not a fan of the name, but. He looked really good. The main event was phenomenal. Adrian Neville versus Sami Zayn, and it was just a beautiful match, just wonderful. The whole show was just great. And then you get to TLC, and I felt like I was watching like a 2000 WCW show, just this over-gimmicked mess.
I actually liked WCW in 2000, but I get where you're coming from, though. I'm not going to shoot you.
I mean, there was no Viagra on a pole match, but yeah.
which is a oxymoron.
But the Gold Rush Piñata match or whatever that was.
That was the Mexicans. That was
Yeah,
Bobby,
I remember those things.
That was the last time Bobby Heenan ever tried in WCW. He got approached and he said, "All right, we're going to have a bunch of Mexicans fighting over sticks to hit a piñata. Don't say anything." Well, shit. If I can't say nothing to that, then what the hell's the point of me being here? So,
you want me to not comment on that? Okay.
I love it.
What a nutty business, but yeah, TLC, tables, ladders, chairs, and stairs, because the world was just dying for a stairs match.
And it was so good, too. I mean, if there was ever a match that was destined to change the name of a pay-per-view, throwing off every piece of promotional tool that was put out there, every poster, banner, logo that was thrown out, let's change the pay-per-view somewhat last minute for this match.
And it was terrible.
Oh, man.
It was bad, and I felt bad for Big Show and Rowan, because it's like they've got to maneuver these giant-ass stairs all over the place to do these kooky spots that don't make any sense.
And those are so damn clunky, those things.
Yeah, they are.
I mean, what the hell can you do with them? They're so clunky. And they don't look that impressive. I mean, even you were at the WrestleMania 29. The pedigree on the stairs, did you really think that was the finish?
Yes, I did, because it was Triple H.
If it was not Triple H and the pedigree on the stairs happened, Would you thought, oh, that killed him, that's it, 1, 2, 3? Or did it not look very impressive? It did not look very impressive to me, at least.
Yeah.
Especially after you had, CM Punk killing himself.
Oh, which, by the way, I love that part of the podcast where he said he basically wrestled that match with a death wish. I'm like, yeah, it kind of showed. I was there. It showed. Absolutely.
And he made Taker look good, and then Taker worked a guy who can't work, and I'm going to go ahead and say that he can't work, at WrestleMania 30, and it was one of the most dismal pieces of dog shit I've ever seen.
That was a awful match. And they ended the streak, so it's like, oh, wow, so that's a double whammy of terrible.
Yeah. I mean, I don't even know what you can say about that. Yeah. But they knew it. I mean, the main roster knew that they couldn't compete with NXT after that, and Cena actually approached the roster, the main roster.
I've heard this story, yeah.
Tried to kick them in the pants, get them to, step it up. And his match wasn't any better, so...
Well, his match was stupid because they booked him to be like, okay, here's the thing. I'm thinking back on all the top faces that the WWF has had, or the WWE, since I've been watching them. Like, I remember Hogan, I remember Warrior, I remember Bret and Shawn, Austin, Rock. I don't remember even Undertaker. I don't remember another top babyface that got as much booking protection as John Cena does. Like, to the point it's like, all right, he's wrestling 3 people in a tables match, and he basically won the match like 3 times. I don't get that.
Well, it's Super Cena.
Yeah, and it's insulting. Quite honestly, it takes me out of it. I mean, a guy gets jumped. Okay, when Undertaker got jumped by 10 people at the Royal Rumble that one year when they did the casket match with Yokozuna, it was overly excessive. But at the same time, I thought, well, at least he lost. It cost him the match.
Right. Not even Chuck Norris could save him.
He did at Survivor Series.
Well, that's right. I'm sorry. I'm thinking Rumble. You're talking Rumble, aren't you?
Yeah.
That was cool when he did that at Survivor Series. Yeah, I'm sorry. I got my guest stars mixed up there.
Yeah, you need to check out that network, James. Only $9.99.
Oh God, not that.
I love that the price of the network is more over than the network itself.
That's right.
That's hilarious. But yeah, normally, like, if Hogan gets hit with, I don't know, like a steel chair or something, typically he would probably go down. Or if Warrior, when he got jumped by Savage and Sherry at the Royal Rumble, that was enough to put him down. This is just like, oh my God, he's seen as like a god.
He got exploded in a spotlight and missed no time.
Yeah. I mean, that's what it took for Edge to beat him, barely. And then the next night on Raw, he comes out. So it's like, nothing means anything with Cena.
He's like the chicken in the Family Guy fights,
Except he wins all the fights.
There you go, he does. But he just won't die. He can do anything you want to him. He's gonna keep coming back. So.
Oh yeah, it's crazy. And even the next night on Raw, when Rollins and him had that cage match, and Lesnar interfered and hit him with an F5, I was sitting there watching this, and I thought, Cena could still win this match. Like, the fact that could happen, and I would still think in my head, wow, Cena could still win, it's just insane to me.
Yeah. Oh, well, man. So, we did a pretty good interview here. Actually, a very good interview. I just think that people really are going to enjoy it. We've got really good feedback to our last show, which was our Lanny Poffo interview as well. So I'd like to keep this going. I'd like to keep the momentum doing it every other week or so and really try to put some emphasis on doing interviews. I've missed doing it, and there is a weird camaraderie that comes along with it when you'll hear it on this interview, and you'll probably hear it. I had a little bit more of it with Chaz already because I've talked to him off and on for the past couple of years on Facebook. But there's a point in an interview that I love. It's when they realize that you're not just a douchebag interview, how are you doing today? Voice with a microphone, bow tie and microphone. When they realize that you're actually interested in what they have to say and are going to present them with questions to say things that they would not probably say otherwise, or have the platform to do so other than, Twitter, which people just post nonsense on there, so, they don't even use it for the right tools. So, anyway, no, to actually give them a chance to say the things that they may have wanted the platform to say before is awesome. And to have the knowledge of knowing what that is, and then serving it up like a fastball, lobbing it over the plate, that's what I really like. And I think that I've missed doing it. I don't know if you have missed doing it, but I've missed doing this kind of stuff.
Oh, that's awesome. Although I was not a part of this interview, I was feeling a bit under the weather, I should say, and the holiday season's kind of getting to me, so a lot of crazy stuff going on.
Can I make a comment here?
Sure.
Lethal combination for you. If you have a crazy day out finishing up Christmas stuff, and you pick up on the fly McDonald's for lunch, and you're still doing crazy Christmas stuff at 6 o'clock at night, make a healthy choice. We chose Little Caesars Pizza, a $5 pizza deal. I have never pooped so much in my life. 3 a.m, I pooped out a piece of Hubba Bubba I ate in the fourth grade.
Too much info, James.
It was, oh man, I'm trying to tell people for the interest of good health, make a healthier choice.
Do not eat McDonald's and Little Caesars in the same day.
It will make you sick, man. Sick. Like Caroline was throwing up, and I had the opposite effect, and it was just awful.
I bet the kids were fun.
They didn't seem, well, they didn't seem to be affected by it. We got affected by it.
Yeah.
So maybe their consistency is a little more than ours because we're old. But
how old is Nikki now?
Nikki's 13.
Jeez, time flies.
Yep, Alex is 5.
It's crazy.
It is crazy, because I remember calling you from the hospital.
I remember calling your house, waiting to hear the news. I remember calling your house, and your mother-in-law picked up and told me that she had given birth. So, yeah, awesome.
Oh, man. Crazy. It's how time flies. And it goes even faster when you don't sleep. And I mean, I told you that story about massive poops because I had to actually go to work the next day at 5 a.m. So I basically didn't sleep, pooped all night, and then worked all day. And then it's like, okay. And then I think I got a total of 5 hours sleep in the span of 48 hours. And it was, oh, man. And that was last night, by the way, that I was dead tired when I did that interview with Chaz. So I haven't listened to it back. I hope it came off okay because I was woozy.
Oh, man. Well, that makes me look like a wuss because I was... Well, my thing is that I was ready to do the interview even though I wasn't feeling well, but I fell asleep, and I was not getting up.
No, I mean, dude, when I went down, we went down last night because we were sick. We didn't budge. I mean, we even commented on it. Like, normally there's tossing and turning involved. We didn't budge. So, yeah, that's my story there. Personal sharing story of the evening.
See, mine's boring. I just have a sinus infection, so.
Yeah, those suck, man.
Yeah, they do. It feels like my nose is on fire.
Did they give you antibiotics?
No, I haven't seen a doctor. I've just been taking Dayquil. That
works to a point. Do you drink much beer?
It helps me get through the day. I'm sorry?
Do you drink much beer?
Not regularly, no.
Okay, because I'm convinced that Dayquil knocks me out because I don't drink enough. Because I have, like, no consistency to being altered. So when I take Dayquil, it's like I might as well have taken NyQuil because I'm going down.
See, NyQuil, like, okay, not only does NyQuil put me down, but I start to hallucinate. After, like, I refuse to take NyQuil anymore because it's like, it just royally fucks me up.
Remember, I took NyQuil one night and I had to work the next day at 4 a.m. And I think I told this story on the air before. I asked to leave work because I ran to go to the bathroom to throw up, and I had an out-of-body experience from the side of the stairs, seeing myself run past the stairs. But I wasn't myself. I was Zeus. and I had a burning Z on the side of my forehead. And I thought, yeah, I probably am in no condition to be at work.
See, my thing is, the hallucinations I have, they usually involve mice and rats, which is a big phobia of mine. I don't like mice and I don't like rats. They freak me the fuck out. And when I take NyQuil, I'll wake up at some point during the night and then just be in a frozen state because I'm convinced that there are mice and rats all over the place.
Have you ever seen the episode of Ninja Turtles where they have the mushroom thing, and I can't remember what it's called?
Is this the old show or the new show?
The new show, the Nickelodeon show.
Okay. I think I've seen every episode of the Nickelodeon show. So
they have these spores from this underground mushroom cause them to hallucinate and see their biggest fear. Casey's is rats. So I got to envision what he was visualizing with the rats was something similar to what you're seeing.
Yeah, that sounds about right. Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, love that movie. I cannot watch that scene when they're down in the pit.
Yes, I know exactly what one you're talking about.
Yeah.
Oh, man. I got to watch those again. I haven't seen some of the indie movies in forever.
They're good, man. They're good. I even like King of the Crystal Skull. I don't care.
I like that one, too, but it got crapped upon from a high distance.
Oh, God, yeah. Yeah, it's one of the most hated sequels ever.
And it made no sense because it wasn't that bad. There's been worse.
I'll be honest, I liked it more than Temple of Doom.
I don't know if I'll go that far, but I liked it.
Yeah, it was, I've seen worse.
I'm going to wrap up with this thought, and it's a little bit of a political one, but I want to get your take on it.
Uh-oh.
The Interview. Not our interview, but the movie that nobody would have gone to see anyway, The Interview.
Uh-huh.
What do you think of Sony pulling it?
I think I'm going to pull a South Park here. I think that's, completely uncool, that we're basically letting bullies, and I'll simplify them to the level of just being bullies, tell us, what we can and can't put in our movie theaters. And people from other countries can apparently tell us what's acceptable art in our country, and in a country that is supposed to be all about free expression and free speech. And I've never liked that mentality of if you're offended by something, well, just, yell and scream until it goes away. It's like, no, if you're not offended by it, then just don't watch it. And personally, I don't really give a fuck what North Korea thinks of us. So the fact that we're letting them decide, our art forms I think it's pretty ludicrous.
Yeah, I completely agree. But I'd go one further. Not only do I think they should release it in movie theaters, because I'd buy a ticket to see this thing, even though I have literally no interest in doing so, just as a big middle finger to a little Asian man. But I'd also recommend that they should put it online. Make it available on iTunes or something to buy for $1.99 or whatever, 99 cents for a digital copy.
Or $9.99.
Well, hey, why not? Make money off of it. People will buy it. People will buy it. People will watch it. People will laugh at them, and still, the company will make money. So it'll be like, hey, thank you, North Korea. You've kind of given us a new idea of how we can release shitty movies that would not have done well at the box office.
Yeah.
And it would not have done well at the box office. I'm sorry, it really wouldn't.
No, it really had no buzz going about it until all this controversy broke out.
But you mentioned South Park, Team America. How much did they piss on Kim Jong-il?
Oh, God damn, yeah, they did. They killed him. They killed Kim Jong-il, but apparently Kim Jong-un has a softer skin.
That's just ridiculous.
That's not even a joke. I'm just apparently and Kim Jong-il was crazy. Don't get me wrong.
Knows that he's not. No, I know his son is nuts.
Yeah, Kim Jong-un is just, he's a different kind of crazy. But
there's no thick skin there at all. He's completely nuts, and he wants to, blow up the world.
Good luck with that.
And I'm going to say this. This will be the extent of how political I'll get with it. If we had a stronger government right now, namely the head of the government, I guarantee you nobody would be dicking with us like this.
Yeah.
If they thought, holy shit, that Texican is nuts, they wouldn't be pissing us off over a movie.
Well, it's funny you mention that because there was a movie made in England. I forget what the name of it was, but it was about assassinating George W. Bush while George Bush was in office. We did not try to shut that movie down.
No, we put out our own. It was called Fahrenheit 9/11.
Well, that wasn't about assassinating Bush, but I know what you mean. But, and you know, whether you agree with what
character.
Yeah, yeah, pretty much. But whether you agree with that movie or not, you know, we're a country that is based on you get to express your opinions any way that you want. And free expression, as long as you're not depriving anybody of their rights or being violent, you can express your opinions and your feelings any way that you want. And apparently North Korea does not understand that. And, you know, boo-hoo if they don't like it. That's my take.
I don't recall if it was NBC or CBS or what station it was, but do you remember the movie they did on 9/11 about 2 or 3 years after 9/11 happened?
No, I don't remember that.
They did almost like a biopic. It was a biography, but it was a movie in and of itself. There was acting involved. Patricia Heaton was in it as well as the dad from the Wonder Years, God help me, I can't remember his name, and a bunch of other
Dan Lauria, I think that's his name, something like that.
Right. There you go. He was in it as well. And the station that was airing it had people threatening to boycott them because it implied that when Bill Clinton was president, he did not go after bin Laden when he had a chance to get him. And they tried to get the station to pull the movie just because of a passing line in the movie. And to that I say, they didn't back down. They still aired the movie. Nobody remembers it because it was not that great of a movie, but still, it happened. They didn't back down to it, and nor should Sony. If they want to be smart and not release it in theaters and fearing that they could, you know, have a Aurora, Illinois kind of thing or Aurora, Colorado thing where they shot them up, all right, fine, I get it. That's fine.
Well, the thing about the Aurora, Colorado thing is that was just random. That was just some lone nut.
That was a lone nut, exactly. And they exist in other countries, too, we found out now. So.
Yeah.
Unfortunately. Even countries with gun laws. Go figure.
Well, the thing about criminals is that they tend to not obey the laws. That's by definition. I'm just saying. This is coming from somebody who's not a gun owner,
That's like saying, you know, the thing about fire is it gets real hot.
I know, right? It's like, you know, and I'm not a gun owner, and I don't feel the need to own a gun. And if you outlaw guns tomorrow, it really wouldn't affect me personally at all.
No, me neither.
I'm just saying the bad people are not going to hand their guns over. I'm just saying.
Yeah, bad guys will find a way.
Just by definition, they're criminals. So,
exactly.
You know.
The bad guys will get rid of them, and the good guys won't get rid of them, and the good guys will. And then the bad guys will have the guns, and the good guys won't. And it's like, well, hell, he just made the problem worse. So. All right, dude. I think we've gotten political enough for one night, but good talking to you, dude, and hope everybody enjoyed the interview. And check out WrestlingEpicenter.com. Check out our Facebook page as well. We're always putting new stuff up on there. And check out the store and buy something because we always need some more money. It doesn't hurt. So thank you guys, and hope everybody enjoyed the interview. Patrick, thank you for joining me.
No problem.
And this is James Walsh on behalf of Patrick Kelly. We'll see you next week here on Interactive Wrestling Radio.